Now, here's Michael Smerconish.
In all of my social media today, there's an essay that was published recently at CNN.com by Gary Kasparov. Gary Kasparov is the chair of the Human Rights Foundation and the Renewed Democracy Initiative, which recently launched the Frontlines of Freedom Project. We're about to talk about it. You, of course, know that he is a former world chess champion. Gary, thank you so much for coming back to my program. I really appreciate it anytime we're together.
Thank you very much for having me.
What happened in 2012? You are speaking and you are outside of some type of a court proceeding where Pussy Riot is now being disciplined by Putin?
Yeah, discipline is a very a soft word, is understatement. They were sentenced for 2 years in prison for just, it's an act of protest. And I was in the crowd of many hundreds, if not thousands, expressing our support for them. And I was just taken out of the crowd, arrested. And when I tried to actually figure out what's happened, I was beaten. And eventually, they even tried to put me behind bars, allegedly calling that I was attacking a police officer, biting his finger. So it was one of the many accidents, and it sounds a bit comic now, but it could ended up quite tragically. Today, I would definitely go to jail for 5 years. So because it's in 2012, the regime still paid attention to the public, to public opinion and the world opinion. These days, they don't care, and that's why all people who peacefully marched with me on the streets of Russia, they are either in exile like myself, in jail like Alexei Navalny, or even worse, killed like Boris Nemtsov.
Were they uniformed, or were these people just in street clothes who grabbed you and threw you in a van?
No, uniformed, but it's always a mixture in Putin's Russia. Yeah, no, arrest is conducted by people, by men in uniform. Actually, it's not just uniform. They had the professional gears of riot police. So, and then you had these 6 people that were grabbing me out of the crowd and just carrying me to the van for no reason. But we saw, because again, at the time we had many cameras, and you could actually see on the camera people in street clothes pointing at me and actually giving instructions. So it is the riot police always follow instructions of KGB officers wearing plain clothes.
Is that the last time that you were in Russia?
No, it wasn't the last time, but definitely it was the last warning. And it made very clear to me that the rest would follow. And when in February 2013, while I was traveling abroad, my mother received a quote unquote invitation from Russian Investigative Committee, it's a Russian analog of FBI, asking me, to show up and to be a witness on one of the numerous political cases they opened about after mass protest in Moscow and other cities. So I thought that's would be too risky for me to show up. And I spoke to late Boris Nemtsov, who bluntly told me, Gary, you enter the building as a witness, and if you leave the building, you most likely will be the suspect. You'd better stay away and not coming back. So since February 2013, I live in exile. I live in New York, and it's so sad that Boris Nemtsov didn't follow his own advice and decided to stay and fight back, and he was killed in 2015. And as you all know, Alexei Navalny now is in jail, and it's highly unlikely that he will see the daylight outside of his prison cell as long as Putin stays in power. And of course, hundreds of activists and ordinary people who took part in the protest, they either now behind bars, or most of them had no other choice but to live in exile.
So to someone who's listening to this or has read the essay that you published at CNN.com, and they say, well, this is all the stuff of Putin's Russia, why should Americans be concerned about it? You would tell them what?
Look, it's a whole idea of this project, Frontlines of Freedom. And on CNN, we work together on a specific set of interviews, op-eds, and videos called Voices of Freedom. It's to share our experience. It's not just me. It's people from around the world, from Hong Kong, Xinjiang, Uyghurs from Xinjiang, Belarus, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, all the countries where people know that police brutality is not a problem, but it's the system. And we want Americans actually to recognize that, freedom is something very fragile. You can grow up in a free country, but unless you are vigilant, unless you understand so that the freedom is always under pressure, you may lose it one day. And we are concerned that today America is sort of under siege, American democracy, from two sides. On one side, you have a cult of personality and election deniability. So that's on the right side. On the left side, you have cancel culture and a rigid ideology that wants to regulate your lives. And we hope that Americans will recognize that the democracy needs to strengthen its position in the center, not to be left with the choice for lesser evil.
Gary, what you write about is not specific to the United States. It seems like democracy is under attack all around the globe. This is what I most want to ask you, and I hope I ask it clearly. Are demagogues capitalizing on sentiments that exist worldwide, or are those demagogues fueling the creation? Are they the originators of what is now threatening democracy? It's as we say in the States, the old chicken and the egg question that I'm asking.
Exactly. You stole words from my mouth. I won't say chicken and egg, okay, because we live in the globalized world. Modern technology, it's created new reality. It's online reality, but we know what's happening in every corner of the globe, and that's why you cannot have only one-way street. Information goes in both ways. And unfortunately, our expectations that the openness will help to democratize and liberalize countries like Russia, China, Iran failed. To the contrary, these countries are more successful in spreading corruption and authoritarian ideology into the free world. So we have few recent publications. The great article of Anna Pilbaum in the Atlantic magazine, "Why Authoritarians are winning." And I think one of the reasons is we do not recognize the danger that these people represent for a democracy in America or in Europe, because it seems far away, but we already saw the direct influence in 2016 elections, and clearly, the language of some of the demagogues in Europe and in America, I don't even have to mention the name, so resembles very closely the methods and attacks on democracy that have been employed by people like Putin. And I was horrified just to see a couple of days ago that the Wyoming Republicans expelled, they said didn't recognize, but for me it sounds like expelling Liz Cheney from the party.
Crazy.
So that's that means that the party now just it has only one criteria of loyalty to Trump as the recognition of being a true quote unquote Republican.
So you say our generation either renews democracy or we lose it forever. Are you being hyperbolic? Do you really think that's the fate that confronts us now if we don't make changes?
No, I think the threat is real, and so the 51 other dissidents who signed this letter with me, we represent 28 countries, and again, we share our experience. And while American democracy proved to be much more resilient just than in any other democracy in the world, and it could survive the first term of Donald Trump. I said first because that may not be the last one. But if nothing changes, if Americans are not actively engaged in defending democracy and democratic institutions, in 2024 you could see the choice between Donald Trump or his crony and someone very radical on the left. And that's that means that any result will deliver maybe even a deadly blow to American democracy. It's very important that we will see the rise of politicians who could actually bring people together and not playing the differences. Because right now we see that the extremes on both sides are pointing at the other side, saying, "Oh, we can do, we can do whatever we want," but choices between us and them. Again, bringing another, option to American people. Just making sure that we look in the future and understand what is at stake.
Okay, so what is the action plan? Because what I'm hearing, what I'm reading is that Gary Kasparov, who knows a thing or two about what it's like to live in a country that doesn't experience democracy, you having grown up in the old Soviet Union. By the way, even when you were world chess champion and traveling the globe, you were not free, right? You were under constant watchful eyes.
Absolutely. No, look, the Soviet Union was just, it's a communist dictatorship. And of course, even the top players like myself, we were under constant watch of KGB. Those are reality of life. And unfortunately, Putin's Russia, somehow it's even worse now because they have enormous, unlimited resources to control the Russian population and also to spread their poisonous influence worldwide. But it's going back to American issues or European issues. It's about restoration of normalcy in domestic politics. It's about an agenda that could bring people together, not dividing them. So I would personally, would love to see a new party emerging because you have so many people on both sides that are fed up with the radicalism and they would like to again go back to normal political debate. If not, then we should see which party could actually offer a better alternative. And again, it's just choosing between two options. I would look for one that could protect democracy. And my hope is that Democrats could find a young Bill Clinton running in 2024, making sure that the people in the middle will have a decent choice and will not be swayed into the world of Trumpism.
Gary, the expression too big to fail. Is Gary Kasparov too big, too well known internationally for Putin to, I wonder as I listen to your outspokenness, and I've thought this in the past, are you fearful of your safety, whether you're in the United States or somewhere abroad because of your outspokenness about your former homeland?
Oh, the answer is yes, but the simple response is, would it help? So I cannot stop saying what I've been saying for my entire life. So I believe, right, that, there's a message that I can share with people, both in the United States or elsewhere. And keeping silence just will basically end my life, not literally, but figuratively. And I do what I believe is right. And I always lived, following the motto of Soviet dissidents, do what you must and so be it.
So finally, what then is the action plan? To those who are listening, to those who will watch us on YouTube, who are concerned about the fate of democracy in the United States, what is it that we all need to be doing?
Look, again, it's America is still a democracy where you can actually influence politics. It's for those on the Republican side, again, I hope that there's enough force inside the party to stop the incessant march of Trumpism and to save party from this cult of personality. Whether it's doable or not, I don't know. On the Democratic side, there's some good signs. Support people like the new mayor of New York, Eric Adams. Find, moderate politicians that will offer alternative to Trump and his cronies, because the way to beat Trump, from the other side, is from the Democratic side, is to make sure that people who run on the Democratic ticket, they will be acceptable by independents and other moderates, and will not alienate them, as for instance happened in Virginia in the latest elections.
Well, I wish there were such a third party, such an alternative for those of us who don't feel comfortable at either end of the political extreme in the United States. Gary Kasparov, thank you so much. I always enjoy when you're here, and I hope that you'll come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward for more conversations with you. Thank you.